How do I invest in real estate if I don't have any money? That is by far the most asked question we get, because we talk about the power of real estate investing, how great it is, but the barrier to entry with real estate is high. So a lot of people want to know, do I have to wait that long to get involved? Good news for you. People have found a way to participate in real estate before they've saved up the money for a down payment. And what they're doing is called Airbnb Arbitrage. We're going to break down what this means, how they're doing it, if it's legal, and show you a way that a lot of people are going out making a lot of money doing this strategy. Because this is the most asked question we get, what we ask for is that you just hit the like button so that this video gets out to more and more people. So if people are interested in this strategy, this will pop up in their feed. So what is Airbnb arbitrage? This is when you go out and rent one or multiple properties, and then you sublet them on short-term rental platforms like Airbnb. So an example of this would be, let's say you rented a home in Nashville for $1,500 a month. Then you went out and put it on, let's say Airbnb, and rented it for $170 a night. It would take you 11 days to pay for your rent. And then let's consider you were able to rent it another 15 days. You would have made $2,550 in that time frame. Now, you do have expenses, but what this strategy is you get to keep the difference between your rent payment and then your net income. Even just saying that, I could already see the comments coming in. This is gonna be the pushback, watch. That's illegal. Why would an owner ever let you do that? Why wouldn't he just do it himself? And it can't be that easy. It's actually much harder than you think. I'm gonna break down those 3 points and show you how this actually happens. So let's first address the, is it legal? Now, this is gonna depend on the area that you're looking to do this. Some areas have, local laws or HOA bylaws that have regulation on short-term rentals. You're gonna have to do research to make sure the area that you're planning on doing this allows it. In some areas, you might have to apply for a license or a permit to operate. If you can do it, this right here is going to be the hard part, is you need the owner to allow you to do this. Now, some people will say, just look through the lease agreement. And in the lease agreement, if it doesn't say anything that stops you from doing it, then you should do it. I don't agree with that. I think you should have the owner on board. So tell the owner what you want to do and set up a separate agreement stating that you're going to sublease this out on short-term rentals. In this agreement, which you're gonna need an attorney to do, here's a couple of the things that you're gonna have to have in it. 1, who's responsible for penalties and fines. 2, who's paying for liability insurance. 3, what's the split or share that you're going to let the landlord participate in. And 4, who's covering the extra security deposits. This part is where you're gonna have to put on kind of the sales hat to get an owner to be comfortable with this. And there's gonna be an educational part to this. Most owners that rent long-term, they're not up to date on what happens on the short-term rental market. Now, they may have heard of Airbnb, but they don't necessarily know how it works to rent on it. So you're gonna have to, 1, educate them, 2, be able to answer some of the concerns that they're gonna have. Here's the most common ones. The number 1 concern that you're gonna get from an owner is, I don't want my home or unit getting thrashed. And this is where you say to him, that is a great concern. The reality is, I have a vested interest in your unit or your home succeeding as well. If walls are beat up, if the floors are thrashed, I'm not gonna get 5-star reviews, which I need to get this home or unit rented up. I need a great experience. So for that experience, what I do is I deep clean the unit once a month. Then you can follow with how many of your long-term renters do a deep clean if they're gonna rent this from you for a year. The reality is they're not gonna do it ever. So doing a deep clean once a month is actually gonna keep it in better condition than if you were to do a long-term rental. Next concern you're gonna get is who covers damages? Now, this is where you can say, 1, Airbnb offers host protection insurance, but you go, or your company goes above and beyond and gets short-term rental insurance in case anything happens, you cover that. Third concern you're gonna get is gonna be the noise. You hear that a lot. What happens if I have noisy tenants or noisy renters and then my neighbors are pissed off at me? This is where you can say, well, we use 2 apps, AutoHost and NoiseAware, and that helps us screen problematic tenants and also alerts us when tenants are being noisy. So by saying we use these apps so that we stop that from happening, and then also remind them that you need this to be a great experience for the neighbors in the area, because if it's not, you're not gonna be able to rent out the place at the rate you need. So how I would kind of close your pitch or bring it all together is by saying, this is my business too, and I need all of these things done well to succeed. So with me, you will always get your rent on time. You'll never have to chase me down. The place will be kept in better condition than if this was a long-term rental, and your neighbors will not complain, because if they do, my business suffers. And I need these things to do well to win, so this is a win-win for both of us. If I was hearing this for the first time, in the 3 pushbacks that I gave you, the one that I would kind of lean on is, if I was a landlord and I heard about this, why wouldn't I do this myself? And you might want to use this in your pitch, because the truth is, after you go through the education process, they might want to do it themselves because there is more money to be made. This is what you say. 1, a long-term rental or owning long-term rentals, it's not completely passive, but it is absolutely more passive than something like this. So I would say, this is a very active business. You have to constantly be making sure that your tenant is having a great experience. The tenants are moving over much faster. And then I would lean into how difficult the part of marketing this property is. When it comes to short-term rentals, you need to land at the top of the search list every time. So you're playing with the algorithm ultimately. And so I would put in how much work it is to market this property to always maintain that status, so that you can get the amount of revenue from it constantly being rented out. What the owner should say, if he's being honest, is, yes, I want this to be as passive as possible. I want my rent coming in every single month, and I want my asset taken care of. If you can remind him of what ultimately myself and people like him really want, I think they're gonna say yes more times than they'll say no. One thing that you need to be aware of if you're gonna do this is that you're going to have upfront costs. I'm gonna give them to you all right now. Screen grab this, because you're gonna need to know it. Application fee, deposit, first and last month's rent, security deposit, insurance policies, legal fees, maintenance, decor for the property, decorations, Wi-Fi, any new account fees, entertainment subscriptions, cleaning service fees, monthly utility expenses, toiletries, and kitchenware. When you're doing your due diligence to find out if you have a good opportunity in front of you, there's a site that's really good to use. It's called airdna.co. And they basically aggregate a ton of information together on short-term rentals so that you can figure out what your rents are gonna be, what your vacancies are gonna be, etc. One thing to keep in mind when you're running your numbers is that not everything's going to go right. Some markets are seasonal. Some markets have quicker turnover, which means more cleaning fees. Also, make sure you're stress testing your numbers. If you're looking at a market that says the occupancy rate is 75%, what does your deal look like if you decrease that by 10%? Also, give yourself cushion on your expenses. What does your deal look like if you increase expenses by 10 or 20%? Ultimately, what you're trying to figure out is, does this deal still pencil if things don't go right? Last thing to finish with. This could be a cool way for you to earn extra income or create a side hustle. But this is not investing in real estate. This is ultimately helping you build up enough cash to then be able to invest once you get to that point. Once you're able to invest, then you get to participate in the perks of real estate investing, which is principal pay down, tax efficiency through depreciation, cash flow, and leverage. But this could be an awesome strategy to get you to that point, because you can make a lot of extra income doing this. Thank you guys for being here. If you have any friends that are trying to get into the real estate investing space, send them this video. I'd love if we could add value to other people outside of our community as well. Thank you. We'll see you guys on the next video.